So this video is showing you how to get some use out of Chatty emotions. So I'm in the top level screen here and we're going to go into Chatty emotions. And first of all, we'll start off with the emotions module just to show you how you can use that. We'll first of all cover screening. So this is a list of, these are all fake children in this window here. Oops, I can add a new child. Let's just put anybody's name down. Rosa Sharp. Okay, fake date of birth 01/01/2020. I think that makes them a reception child. New to country. Speaks, I don't know, I'm just randomly making up. Lithuanian at home. Female, it's already defaulted the child to reception class, so we don't need to worry about that, unless of course they have been held back a year or whatever and are still in nursery, in which case we could override by clicking whichever class they are actually in. I'm going to say that Rosa is learning English as an additional language. This tag here is just something that will help us to group children at a later point. You don't have to use this if you don't want to. You can create your own tags if you've got something specific for your setting that you'd like to use. And we're going to save those details. And then we'll see Rosa is in the table here. And the first thing we need to do is create a new screen for Rosa, because as yet she's never been screened on this system. And it's important to say here that each time we screen Rosa, each time we start a new screen, we will use this create screen function. We don't go back into the existing screener and update it, because then we would never be able to show progress or differences across different screeners. So every single time you want to screen again, obviously this is the first time, but then if you want to screen again 3 months later or screen again 6 months later, always use this create screen functionality to create a brand new screener. So let's put here, we're in June and we're going to say it's initial baseline. You can call this whatever you want, it's just a free text screen. So we can see we've got this record here for the initial baseline. Then if we're in September and we want to see how she's doing, we'd go to create screen button here at the bottom and create a brand new screener and call it something like September review baseline or whatever, so that you would then have 2 records in this screening log. And then every single time we want to screen, we would go in and create a brand new screener and start again each time. That means that then at a future point in time, we can select this June baseline and we can select maybe the December review and we can compare the child's results. If we just each time go into this June initial baseline and overwrite the results, we're never going to have any data that we can use to compare. Okay, so we've not started this screener yet, so we're going to click on Run. And sorry, I'm just messing about with my mouse there, so I've got that to be the correct size. 2 different ways we can screen a child, and you don't have to use both of them, just pick the right way for this child. So easy way to tell, is this child verbal? Are they talking? Are they using words? If they are, I would use the naming screener. If they're not yet using words, or they're not saying very much, or they're non-verbal, then I would use the understanding screener. So I'll just show how the understanding screener works first, for those children who are not yet saying very much, or saying very much in English. So we can do the easy level or the harder level. Again, a little bit that depends on the child. I'm going to assume that this child isn't really saying very much. We don't know how much language they've got. So I'm going to use the easy one. And then what the child has to do is select the right picture. So if you were using an iPad, they just touch the correct picture. Or if you're using a laptop or whatever, they will point and you will click for them. So which one is happy? Which one is sad? Right, I'm going to get the rest of these wrong now, just so that you can see. So which one is tired? Show me which one is excited. Show me which one is scared. Okay, so Rosa has got 2 out of 6 and we've got to save that away. If we hit cancel here, then we'll have lost the work that we've just done. So click on save. We could immediately go back into this if we want to, and we can see that for understanding screener, she's got 33% at level 1. So she got 2 out of 6. Okay, so we could print that if we wanted as well. I'm going to close that down. While we're at it, we probably want to see what she's like at level 2. So which one shows sick? It's that one. Which one is silly? I'm not going to get these right now. Which one is calm? Which one is bored? Which one is grumpy? Which one is worried? And Rosa got 1 out of 6 this time. And again, if we want to see both sets of results for the understanding screener, we can see she got 17% at level 2, 33% at level 1. And generally speaking, I would say if they're getting around about 80% or above, you can consider that that's relatively well sorted. In speech therapy terms, we tend to think about having about 80% correct before we move on. I know some schools insist on getting to 100%, and that's fine. It's whatever you feel it is right, but we want to keep children moving through this and learning lots of language, so I would say about 80% would be okay. Right, now you probably wouldn't go on to do the naming screener because we can see that there's a lot of work we need to help with understanding for Rosa. But let's say we've come in, Rosa is able to talk, we haven't done the understanding screener. I'll just show you what the naming screener looks like. We'll go into the easy level and we're going to say, how is this boy feeling to Rosa? And if she says happy, give her a thumbs up. If she doesn't know this one, or if she says angry, it should be sad, obviously. How's this one feeling? Obviously we're looking for angry here, so let's say this says sad. How's this one feeling? Happy. It should be shocked. How's this one feeling? Tired. Let's say this say sad. Happy. Let's say this say angry. I know. And let's try level 2. That one's meant to be sick, so let's say they say sad. Let's say they know that that one's silly. That one's calm, but they don't know the word calm. That one's bored, but they don't know that. That one is, let's say they don't know that one, and let's say they don't know that one. Okay, so let's look at how Rosa has done at this. So obviously she's struggling at naming. It's much harder to name an item than it is to point to an item. 2 different levels of language development. The first level a child gets to is to recognise or understand what something is. That's called receptive language. And the second stage is to actually be able to tell you the name of that item. And that's usually referred to as spoken or expressive language. We've called it naming here. So with this child, it's a bit of a weird example because we've done all of the assessment. I'd probably start at level 2. I'd probably start at level 1 when we go into the teaching now, and because we can see that she's only got 33% at level 1. So I'd want to work on level 1 until she's getting about 80%. So essentially that's most of how screening works. I'll just show you a little bit more around this screen. Let's say we have completed that assessment now, so we can click on the finish button, and what this does is it locks off this particular June initial baseline so that nobody else can go in and try to, and use the run and then overwrite the results. So from a point of view of keeping your data intact, it's good to finish that off. It just checks that you really do want to finish it, because we can't go back into this one now and run it again. As you can see, the run is now greyed out for this particular screener. But we can look at the report. If we click on any of the numbers in the report, we can see a breakdown of what they got right and what they got wrong. So we know that for level 1, we need to work on these 4 emotions with Rosa. She was comfortable with happy and sad, but she didn't know the others. So we'd go straight into teaching and start to work on those. Level 2, we can see she only got sick correct. She didn't know the others. So we've got lots of targets we can start working on there. Okay. And then you've got a couple of other things. So in order to find children quickly, you can search for a child. So if there's any Freds, you can see I use that a lot in my test data. You can find all the Freds coming up by just searching for the word Fred. If you delete that, you'll get everybody back. If you enter something incorrectly for a child, maybe let's say Rosa's name doesn't have an E at the end, we can go back in and we can update that, save that away, and now it's been corrected. And if a child leaves school, we can delete that child from here just by selecting who they are. get their details up and say delete. It says, are you sure you want to delete? So I'm not going to delete it this time, but if I was sure, then I would click delete there. So just to show you some of the functionality that exists within the screening part of the system. Okay, I hope that all makes sense. There's going to be another video available where you can find out how to use the teaching functionality.